I'm excited for the start of this podcast here, the Game Day Everyday podcast, because for the first time, you, Mr. Rob Higgins, now I know this is an audio format, but for those that are watching on YouTube, you get a chance to see my Nash pad, the Nashville apartment here behind me, man. When are you going to come visit? Come hang out in Nashville with me.
As looking at it, I know those that are listening can't see it. As I look at it, I kind of get a little claustrophobic, but I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect for you. I'm sure it puts you pretty close to all the action there in Nashville, and I'm sure you're having a great time with it.
You don't think that you and I could hang out in the 398 square foot studio that I have here in Midtown? No?
I'll come visit. I'll stand in the hall and look in while you take up all the space in the actual studio.
I like that. There's a 25th floor, area where we can hang out on the rooftop, share some stories of Mr. Rob Higgins back in the day. That seems like the perfect kind of opportunity for those that are listening to the Game Day Everyday podcast for possibly the first time. Thank you. This is what we do each and every week. We like to have fun. That is Rob Higgins, the executive director of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. I'm Ryan Bass. So glad to have you guys here, a part of this episode. So excited about a lot of the things to come, Rob. This is a really, really cool month, the month of June, not just for some announcements that we're going to talk about upcoming, a finalist our city is yet again for some massive events here coming to town. But not only that, Rob, we've got a really cool event coming up in a few weeks celebrating Title IX and the 50th anniversary of it. And we're going to get into a lot of that and what's to come and what the listeners can expect.
I think for a lot of organizations, maybe the summer slows down and you got people taking vacations and all those different things, which is all well and good. We are jam-packed with a lot of different activities, a lot of different initiatives. We're certainly really fired up about the 50th anniversary of Title IX. We've got two great guests on today's episode with Claire Lessinger and Allison Glock. So a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. Certainly at the top of our minds, though, as well, is this playoff run that our Tampa Bay Lightning is right in the middle of. We're in the Eastern Conference Finals, coming off a huge win in Game 3, looking to even up the series tonight as we record this. It's Tuesday, June 7th. Man, we've got a big one coming tonight. What have you thought of the Bolts run so far, Ryan?
It's been incredible, Rob. And, there was a lot of eulogizing, if you will. It seemed like on the broadcast in terms of how great the Lightning run has been. And they went 18-0 following a loss in the playoffs. Since 2020, obviously losing Game 2 ended what was, in my opinion, Rob, one of the most impressive streaks in sports history. That was the longest of any professional franchise across all the major sports. So to have that on their resume, given what they've done the last couple of years, lifting our community, Rob, throughout the pandemic, throughout everything that we have been through, this has been the team, the franchise, the organization, really the dynasty that has helped our city get even more on the map. Obviously, we had a Super Bowl mixed in there with you and your crew, and I'm rocking, by the way, the Tampa Bay Super Bowl host committee polo here, a little retro throwback. But this franchise has had such an incredible run, and we're not done yet, Mr. Rob Higgins, because Andre Palat, who is one of the quietest superstars for this team, never really puts up a lot of goals, never scores more than 25 in a season, always seems like the unsung hero, comes through yet again with his playoff heroics with 45 seconds left. Nikita Kucherov with one of the most unbelievable passes I've ever seen in hockey history. It's so cool, Rob. The entire city was energized. You were actually there with your son. You got a chance to feel what the energy was like when you were walking out of Amalie.
It was two great goalies going at it. The Lightning had 51 shots. Just when they went down 0-2, you just never sensed panic amongst the fans, amongst the players. The heart of a champion showed up in a very big way. They pulled it out. The energy you just referenced, I can tell you, I've walked out of a lot of sporting events. I've been so fortunate to walk out of a ton of sporting events in my lifetime, and just the energy among the Lightning fans, they poured out into all the bars and restaurants in downtown. People did not want to go home after that win, which was pretty cool. And now certainly it culminates with Game 4. Hopefully they can even up the series here tonight and take it to MSG and steal one there and keep it rolling. But I think we just are so happy for VSG, the Venix Sports Group, because they're such great people. They do such great work in the community, and they've been great partners to us. And I think that's one of the things we want to help start the episode with, was a great announcement that took place last week. And we wouldn't have so many awesome events coming here. We wouldn't be named to the short list, the finalist list, without the partnership of Vinix Sports Group. And so last week's announcement of us becoming one of the final 7 cities to be considered by the NCAA to host a future women's Final Four in 2027 to 2031. Those things don't happen without great community partners. And that starts really with Vinix Sports Group and Amalie Arena on that event specifically.
I love the Vinix Sports Group. I love what Jeff and his team has done for our community, uplifting it. But Amalie Arena has become truly one of those venues nationwide, Rob, that is recognized not only for the fan experience, the cleanliness, the culinary experience, but we've had some major events. I'm talking concerts. I'm talking Final Fours. I mean, now we've got the women's Final Four coming to town here, which is going to be here in 2025, already coming to town. And now our city's been announced as a finalist yet again for 2027 to 2031. And Rob, I think that speaks to the job that you all have done. Obviously, 2019 was an incredible women's Final Four here in town. We talked about it on this podcast previously, but I think that set the table for what's going to be an awesome 2025. And now potentially the event could be coming back yet again. 7 cities have been selected as finalists here, Rob. And I know you guys are certainly proud to be named yet again as a finalist for this event.
Absolutely. We're ecstatic. It's an event that we've had a 20-year relationship with. We want a relationship with this event and a partnership with this event for many years to come. So I know a lot of people think of 2027 to 2031 as a long time off into the distance, but the reality is it'll be here before we know it, just as 2025, as you referenced, when we get a chance to host, will be. For those that didn't see the list, I'll just review the cities alongside of us that were named. We've got Columbus, Dallas, Indianapolis, Portland, Sacramento, and San Antonio are the other 6 cities for 5 years. So it's going to be stiff competition. On the Game Day Everyday podcast, we're going to continue to take you behind the scenes of the bid throughout the entire journey. And hope with any luck, we'll land our community's 5th women's Final Four.
Just to give some tentpole dates here, Rob, so the listeners can understand where we'll take them inside. Final bids, July 1st, right? That's the submission date for you all to submit those final bids. We get those staff and they conduct those site visits. Now, obviously, they're very familiar with our area, but they'll get to come down again August and September. And then they'll be finally announcing it in mid-November. That is when they will make those announcements. So just take me through, if you can give me kind of a little bit of sneak peek, just peel back the curtain on what that final bid process is like, because July 1st will be here before you know it, Rob. It's only a few weeks away. So what does that final bid process and presentation look like?
So over these next 3 weeks, we're working with all of our community partners to pull together our vision for a future women's Final Four here. So that's working with our good friends at Amalie Arena. That's working with our hotels, our event venues. You think about the games specifically, 3 great games that'll be on tap with the women's Final Four. But there's so many different events that come alongside of it. So whether it's Tourney Town to the WBCA convention, which is the Women's Basketball Coaches Association convention at the convention center, to what their hotel needs are, to the legacy projects, which we certainly spend a lot of time and emphasis on. There's a lot that goes into an overall bid for an event like the Women's Final Four. So it's using these next 3 weeks to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, put together what really is our playbook for what a women's Final Four would look like between 2027 and 2031 in our community. And then from there, we'll go to the site visits you referenced. And certainly, as you talked about, the committee is familiar with our community, but there's so many things that are new and different here as well. There's so many exciting developments that we'll look to highlight as part of that site visit. And then we go into the fall and we have our final presentation. And so we'll prepare and just really convey what that women's Final Four would look like here. And then the decision comes and we see what ends up happening. But we are so honored and privileged to be a part of it. We had our good friend Nina King, who's chair of the women's basketball committee, on an episode a couple episodes ago, and you just hear their passion and enthusiasm for growing that event. And it's right in line with what our passion and enthusiasm is as well. So it's really been a match made in heaven, and we hope we're able to continue to solidify it for many years to come.
It seems very simpatico in terms of them growing that event and our growing city, right? With how our skyline is growing, and the addition of the JW Marriott, which wasn't here in 2019 when the last women's Final Four was here. So there's a lot of different wrinkles that our city is bringing to the table here, especially with our population growth, that I think that committee is going to be really, really excited about. And I know you talk about this being a team effort, Rob. You and your team obviously get together to present these bids to land events like the women's Final Four. And Claire Lessinger, who's your vice president of events at the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. She's one of the VIPs. We've had an opportunity to get to know her. We spent time with her during the run up to Super Bowl 55 on the Tampa Bay 55 podcast. Claire is a hidden gem, an MVP, if you will. And I know that you could speak to just kind of the work that she's done, because we're going to get to chat with her here. And she truly is a huge part of this process.
When you talk about women's Final Four and so many other events, whether it's Super Bowl or College Football Playoff National Championship, Frozen Four, Claire is a great point guard. She's a center. She's a power forward. You name it. She does such a fantastic job across so many different fronts when it comes to these events. But specifically with Women's Final Four, she really does help lead the effort. And that's from start to finish. I think each of these relationships that we have with these different events, we want to make sure that what we're presenting from a bid standpoint, we're able to not only meet but exceed when it comes to hosting. And when you have somebody like Claire helping lead that effort, you position yourselves really well as a community. So I think that announcement last week is a great testament to Claire's efforts. And then we've got a lot else to talk to her about as well. So whether it's the Trailblazer series that we have going on our website right now, to the 50th anniversary of Title IX event that we've got coming up, there's a lot on Claire's plate right now, and she's doing a magnificent job helping lead all these areas. So let's sit down and visit with our vice president of events, Claire Lessinger.
Bob, I know I get to do this podcast with you, but I feel like the true MVP of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, without question, is the amazing woman that we're speaking with right now, Claire Lessinger, your vice president of events. Claire, I propose maybe that we do a Game Day Everyday podcast with you. Maybe give Rob a few weeks off, because I feel like you and I would absolutely crush the listener numbers. I feel like it would skyrocket.
Or me
I'm
and Claire.
happy to
There's
step in wherever
option.
you need me.
Or me and Claire. I mean, that could be another one, depending on, how Ryan does here, because this is like every week's an audition for him, basically.
I just got fired for highlighting how amazing Claire was. This is great. Claire, in all seriousness, I was, we were just singing your praises in terms of what you do here at the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, not just for all the amazing events you've helped bring to town and helped organize, but the women's Final Fours. And I think it speaks to us being a finalist yet again for the work that you and your team have done, and the Tampa Bay Sports Commission has done in terms of putting us on the map as really the premier spot to host this event. Take me through, I know we've got 2025 coming up, but how we continually, our city, this Sports Commission, put ourselves in a position to land these events year in and year out, because I think it's special.
Yeah, it is special. And we couldn't be more excited about the opportunity. I think, it really does go back to the relationships that we've continued to build throughout the years with the NCAA, the women's basketball staff, the women's basketball committee, and the women's basketball community. Quite honestly, we've developed a reputation here that they know we're not just partners in ensuring that their event is a success. We're friends, we're family, we share in their mission. And it really is about not only creating an incredible experience for the student athletes and the fans and the visitors, but ensuring that a lasting legacy is left behind. And we have created, started, executed, and sustained so many legacy programs alongside the Women's Final Four and the NCAA team that I think there's such a special story that's being written, and we get to continue to add chapters to that book.
I want to just go a little bit further on the legacy initiative you just referenced. I mean, this event has meant so much to us. We've had this great long-standing relationship, and we always try to raise the bar, and especially when it comes to the legacy initiatives. What are some of your favorites? You look back and also look forward. What are some of your favorite legacy initiatives that we've worked together and helped start here in our community?
Gosh, there's such a laundry list of legacy initiatives, and they all have, kind of different meanings to me personally and to our community and to our organization. With the women's Final Four specifically, our Beyond series has really not only impacted so many girls and women over the years, but to have that brand, for us to develop a brand here locally that the NCAA and the women's Final Four loved so much that they've taken with them. They've copyrighted it, and now it is it's an installation in every one of their tourney towns and every future host city. I just think that's so rewarding. It's so inspiring, and it was fun to create that together with them, where both our community and their community is committed to this legacy program that really is about empowering women, empowering young girls and women in sports. And the way that we've done that through our programming is through education, elevating those women that are coming into our community and telling their stories. So really highlighting the women that are leading these major events. And then, of course, mentoring and networking. So integrating all of that into programming that helps build an affinity for women's Final Four and driving attendance to those games has been unbelievably rewarding for me personally and professionally. But there's so many more. I mean, the Press Pass program, creating a media mentoring program alongside our last women's Final Four, everything through an audition process. We used the media girls from the Girl Scouts of West Central Florida. We tapped into a program that already pre-existed and then elevated 5 of those young girls to come help us with our storytelling. So they had 20 weeks of media mentorship leading up to the women's Final Four and during the Final Four, where they were blogging, or they were behind camera, in front of camera, moderating panels. Just incredible. And we keep in touch with all 5 of those junior reporters. And to see that event and that experience was life-changing for so many of them. One of them is now majoring in broadcasting in college, is just really what it's all about.
Thank you for empowering the future journalists of our generation. And it's so cool to see the lives that have been touched by this community, the programs that you have worked on. And it's going to be a really cool celebration to highlight that for the 50th anniversary of Title IX. It's going to be such an amazing event coming up in a few weeks, presented by Spectrum. It's the Tampa Bay Sports Commission's Beyond Barriers, partnering with ESPN's 50/50, Thursday, June 23rd at Amalie Arena. Mayor Jane Castor is going to be the keynote speaker there to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Title IX. The Lightning are involved. Wise Tampa Bay is involved. I can't wait to be involved in this event as well, Claire. Take me behind the scenes. Why our city was selected as one to be able to help celebrate not only what ESPN is doing, but the celebration of the 50th anniversary of Title IX.
Yeah, we couldn't be more excited to be a stop on this circuit of there's a sneak peek preview that'll be unveiled at this event. It's an ESPN Films, 37 Words, which is a 4-part docuseries, really taking us through the history of Title IX and telling so many stories. And we're just really fortunate, as you mentioned, Ryan, to be a stop. There's 4 other cities, New York, LA, Dallas, and Tampa, that are getting this opportunity through the Disney Spectrum Charter platform. And although I wasn't in the room making that decision, I'd like to believe that Tampa is getting this opportunity because, again, we've maintained and leveraged great relationships. We're a market that has continued to make events like this a priority. And we've got, pedigree and history and celebrating Title IX, our Beyond Barriers events throughout the last few years. We celebrated the 45th anniversary. We also celebrated in 2019, leading up to Women's Final Four, very similar programming, where the audience is really for everyone. But we do hope it's not only educational, it's inspirational. And young girls sitting in those stands are really dreaming of, if you can see her, you can be her. And we're also talking about how far we've come and how far we have to go. And I think, those relationships that we've developed with ESPN throughout the years, they know our market is committed to this and passionate about it, and will pour everything into making this event a success. So again, we couldn't be more excited, and we've got great partners at the table that are helping us crowdsource and ensure that it's a really impactful evening.
How do people register to be a part of it? And for those going to the event, which we expect a great crowd, what can they expect?
Sure. Yeah. So you can register at beyondbarriers2022.com. It's a free event, so open to everyone. Doors will open at 6 o'clock at Amalie Arena. The program will start at 6:30. The event will feature keynote speaker Jane Castor, Mayor Jane Castor, and then we will have we'll show half of the first episode of the 4-part docuseries of 37 words. And it's the perfect amount of teaser content. It's going, what I think it's going to drive everyone back home to tap into the rest of the content that ESPN has produced as part of this 50/50 initiative, to watch the rest of that docuseries. But there's so much more out there on all of their platforms. And then we'll follow that sneak peek preview with a power panel, Trailblazers, Title IX Trailblazers, that we will be able to talk back and speak to what we've just seen. And again, talk about how far we've come, but how far we have to go. It's an unbelievably dynamic group of speakers. It'll be moderated by ESPN talent. And it truly is you can't miss this event. I encourage everyone to go out and register.
So excited for it. Really excited to be a part of it and to witness what is going to be truly a historic milestone day here for our city. I think it's really cool what you all as the Sports Commission are doing leading up to that monumental event, which is celebrating the Title IX trailblazers of our community. Joey Johnston has done such an incredible job of just compiling a list of all of these very influential women that have taken our area by storm. I had a chance to work with Catherine Smith, who is one of my greatest coworkers, such an incredible journalist and a woman. You know, Brooke Bennett, I've become friends with through my time at Bright House Sports Network. You know, and there's so many more that have been highlighted. How cool was this series, you know, for you, Claire? How enjoyable has it been to see the celebration of this, and how difficult was it to come up with this list?
What it's been so fun to celebrate. And we wanted to create a campaign that was a drumbeat leading up to the main event. And no better way to do that than to tell these stories of local Title IX trailblazers. Coming up with the list was not easy at all. Quite honestly, we could run this campaign all year long with the amount of influencers, men and women, that have influenced Title IX in such a positive way. But we honed in really on the word trailblazer. And when we looked at opportunities that were provided or glass ceilings that were broken in terms of these women's professional journeys and personal journeys, that's what we focused on the most. And of course, we wanted to diversify and represent as many sports as we possibly could, and different backgrounds, as well as across our industry. So not an easy thing to stop it at 25. As mentioned, we could go on and on all year long with this, but it has been Joey is brilliant. Working with him has been so incredibly fun. The way he curates information, the way he's told these stories and vignettes is just nothing short of brilliant. So we look forward to continuing to unveil one day by day. We hope they will join us. All of them will be invited to the main event, and we can continue to recognize and honor them.
Yeah, kudos to both you and Joey on coming up with that series. It's been so fun to follow. You know, having been a lifelong Tampa Bay resident, there's so many familiar names on there. You guys have done a fantastic job. And I know you're busy. You're a couple weeks out from the big event with the 50th anniversary of Title IX celebration. So we'll let you get back to planning it. But again, we just encourage everybody to go to beyondbarriers2022.com and register to be a part of it. It's free. It's going to be an awesome celebration of the 50th anniversary of Title IX. So thanks for all of your leadership on this, Claire. We couldn't have a better MVP and teammate here, and we're looking forward to a really special month.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Ryan, we are so fortunate as a team and as a community to have such an all-star lineup of team members, from Claire to Jason to Tony, Mike, Jordan, Jenna. They're all such specialists at what they do. I mean, you can hear it just visiting for a few minutes with Claire. Her passion, enthusiasm, experience, knowledge, commitment, all of that wrapped up into anything and everything she's doing, from the Women's Final Four bid to the Trailblazer series to the 50th anniversary of Title IX event and so much more. Claire continues to do such a fantastic job for all of us.
I just feel honored to be around this all-star team, right? To be in the aura of the all-stars of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, working with you and Mike and getting to hang out with Jason and Claire, Tony, my guy, UCF Knight. Of course you had to have a UCF Knight on your team. So I love that. Jen is great. Your entire team is top notch, Robin. It's cool to see the collaboration between you all and ESPN, which is doing an incredible job all month long of highlighting the legacy of Title IX on its 50th anniversary. Allison Glock is it's incredible to see the work that she is putting together. She is the creator, director, and executive producer of ESPN's W Studios and the 50/50 Project. She specifically will be here in town for the Title IX event, the Beyond Barriers event that we have. And we are just so grateful to have an opportunity to chat with her about what she's been working on and the big event that's coming to Tampa Bay here in a few weeks.
All right, we're joined by the executive producer of ESPN W Studios and 50/50, Allison Glock. Welcome to the Game Day Everyday podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
She liked that I clapped to intro the whole thing. I think she enjoyed the collaboration there between you and I, Rob. That was well done.
Yeah,
well, I thought you were clapping for me. Yeah, there we go. I'll take it.
Yes.
There it is.
The first ever ovation to welcome a guest, Allison.
Yeah, first ever.
Yes. So let's talk 50/50. I can't wait to learn more and get more insight around this truly special project. Where did the idea for 50/50 come from?
We knew we wanted to do something for the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And I came up with that. I had a long career in magazines, so I came up with 50/50 because, do you remember magazines? You're both too young, but they're made of paper. There's pictures. And they
That's
sell.
not the thing you click through now?
No.
Oh.
Can you swipe it or no?
You can.
Oh, okay, there you go.
From the newsstand. No, so numbers tend to get people's attention. And because it was the 50th anniversary and also 50/50 being obviously a symbol of equality, it made a lot of sense to me to do something around women's sports and the fight for equality for this seminal anniversary. And thus was 50/50 born.
It's incredible. And everything that 50/50 has kind of touched all corners of the company, as we talked about, is truly special. All the programming that has kicked off really this month long celebrating it has been special. And I'm grateful that we get to be a part of the celebration here in Tampa with our Beyond Barriers program. And of course, ESPN's 50/50. There's going to be an event Thursday, June 23rd from 6:30 to 8. We've talked about it a lot on this podcast. It is open to the public. It's at Amalie Arena. Mayor Jane Castor, Tampa's city mayor, will be the keynote speaker there. Allison, how excited are you to come to the city of Tampa and to just share, obviously, all that you have been working on, but to truly embrace and celebrate the 50th anniversary here in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful and welcoming, and I'm thrilled that you guys are doing something for it and being so supportive. That's what has been one of the most gratifying parts of this launch, is seeing how many audiences it's reaching and how many people the content is touching, and how far this messaging can actually spread. And in the beginning, it's sometimes hard to convince people that content around women in sports is inherently interesting and wonderful. But in fact, look, it is. And it's been great to prove that in real time and just see all the folks that are coming to the party, like yourselves.
So with our podcast, we take people behind the scenes of the hosting and planning for all these events that we recruit to the community. We've been talking this episode specifically a lot about women's Final Four, but whether it's Super Bowl or Frozen Four, when we're planning events to the outside world, we try to do everything we can to make sure it looks like they go absolutely perfect. But I can only imagine with a project like 50/50 and the magnitude of that, you're trying to do the same, make sure it looks perfect, but I'm sure there's challenges behind the scenes. What were some of your biggest challenges as you were going through such a massive undertaking?
I really don't know what you're talking about, Rob. It's been so smooth.
No hiccups whatsoever, right?
None,
All smooth
no.
sailing.
You're just that good.
Yes. Honestly, to me, one of the biggest challenges is that women's storytelling in this space is often put in this celebration box. And it all has to be very feel good. And, it was important to me that we didn't just do that this wasn't just a lot of rah content, although there's a place for that, but that we were also able to unpack some of the, harder stories and more challenging, pieces. And we were able to do that. And that's what lent itself to the expansion. You can only have so many Instagrammy happy moments. You want to read about like the civil rights journey of Title IX and the current struggles around Title IX. And it's such an active conversation culturally. So the timing is actually perfect. So I would say that was one of the challenges, sort of altering the frame a little bit around what's expected. And then once we did that, again, it's just all of Disney just came aboard because they saw ways in that they didn't necessarily see before.
Your resume is quite impressive, Allison. And, you obviously have been the writer and EP on NBC's Blacklist, but I love that you wrote on social media how this project, lifting the voices and creatives and just creative talents of so many women, this has been the thing that has made you happiest in your career. Can you take me inside that for a quick second? Because that I get goosebumps just reading that. I feel like it's so powerful, and to be able to share that and feature that all month long is incredible. But how has this been the most gratifying thing to date in your career?
Well, I've been in this space of women's sports storytelling for decades. I've been at ESPN more than 20 years. And back then I was sort of fighting to get women on the cover again of the aforementioned magazines. And now to see that we can support an entire month of not just programming, but podcasts and songs. I got Diane Warren with our ABC partners to commission, write a song for our project. And then Rita Ora sang it. And then Ryan Seacrest talked about it. And I was just like, well, if Ryan's talking about your project, like, what else needs to happen? Color me, thrilled. So that's part of it. But also just, I was able to give jobs to so many women, directors, producers, songwriters, you name it. And that feels incredible. Being able to elevate their voices and lift that creative and get that out into the world like little babies has been super gratifying. Not that, writing for James Spader is not gratifying because it is. As a child of the 80s, it's very gratifying, but this is a different thing. This is like a heart project, and it's just something I've done for so long, and to see the progress feels super, super cool.
At one of our Beyond Barriers events about 7 years ago, my daughter was called up on the stage by Stacey Allister, and a young boy was called up on the stage. And she basically gave the example of, if these two were to do the exact same job, this young boy would get $1 and little Laney Higgins would get 78 cents at that time. Mm-hmm. And it was such a powerful moment for my daughter in terms of the wage gap, inequality, and everything. And so as you look through, this is a 50-year-old law, but there's emerging leaders that are really learning the value of leveraging this 50-year-old legislation. I mean, how proud are you of the fact that this next generation is really gravitating towards the ability to be leaders in this space? Yeah,
I mean, it's great. I love that you mentioned that. And that's a profound and also sort of heartbreaking story you just told.
Well, we're trying to keep things upbeat though. Let's go towards the positive aspect of it.
Positive aspect.
Sorry for bringing the episode down.
Not at all. No, it's necessary. It's important to talk about that stuff. And we have a 4-part docuseries called 37 Words that I also executive produced, and it's directed by Don Porter and Nicole Newnham. I don't know if you've had a chance to see any of that or preview any of that, but it's amazing. And there are several groups of girls in high school that are using Title IX for to lobby for, against sexual harassment. Or one story that is profound and interesting to me was this softball team in Portland who never had a field. And they always the boys would play at the school, and then the girls team would have to go to this park where there were no bathrooms. There's like rocks on the field, there's dog poop everywhere. And that's just the way it's been. And finally, they just said, no, no more. And they fought it and fought it and fought it. And I'm happy to report that they were able to win. And so they've graduated and won't be able to play on the new field, but the girls behind them will. And that's been another thing that's been such a revelation and so lovely about, looking into Title IX is just how often these women go on and like pull people behind them. And that's continuing with these girls, these young activists that you're talking about, is that it wasn't necessarily for themselves, but it was for the girls, like your daughter who would come next, and that generational pull. And it's just really, it's beautiful, actually.
Women supporting women has just branched out, whether it be in sports or just sports broadcasting or many of the other sectors of society. And so, Allison, again, I know this has been a 2+ years in the making project. Thank you for what you've been doing. We cannot wait to celebrate it all month long here in the Tampa Bay area, but also on the 23rd at Amalie Arena. Grateful for your time, grateful to hear your and share your stories. And hopefully this is not the last time we get a chance to connect. It's amazing what you've been doing.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me. Enjoy the month.
We will do that. Thank you so much, Allison.
Bye, y'all.
I mean, is there anything that we don't cover with the Game Day Everyday podcast? I mean, from sports to entertainment to film, we've got it all here. And what great perspective that was from Allison Glock.
We really do cover it all. I mean, I would just say, this is the premier podcast in terms of your entertainment, your sports, news. We break news on this podcast. We've got comedic relief on it. I mean, Rob, what else could you want from a podcast other than what we provide and offer? I mean, friendship, banter, it's great.
Yeah, that's why it's top rated. And speaking of top rated, we've got a top rated event coming to Amalie Arena in August. We've talked about it on previous episodes. We just want to remind listeners, August 18th to the 21st, the U.S. Gymnastics National Championships are headed our way. It's the event's first trip to the Southeast since 2004. You can get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. That's right, Ticketmaster.com. We want to see you out there. It's going to be awesome. Some of the world's best gymnasts right here in our own backyard.
We talked about Amalie Arena hosting the women's Final Four coming up in a few years, and obviously in the bid process again to host it, a few years after that. But you can catch a great event at Amalie Arena for the U.S. Gymnastics Championships coming up August 18th to the 21st. So you want to make sure you get your tickets. I told you, Rob, on the previous episode, I have a lot of friends who are like, man, I gotta go to that. Like, there are so many people that are excited in our town to see this event come back to the Southeast for the first time in decades. And so to have that in our backyard is going to be really, really cool. There's also another event, Rob, that's coming up as well. The 2022 CONCACAF Girls Under 15 Championships are headed here to Tampa. 32 teams are going to take part. Tell us a little bit about this event, when the tournament kicks off, and what we can expect, because not only are we a basketball town, a gymnastics town, a hockey town, but we've got soccer championships coming to town, baby.
Absolutely. July 31st to August 7th. It's the 4th edition of that tournament. 500 girls from really across this entire region of the country. So whether it's North America, Central America, the Caribbean, you'll have some of the top U15 players all coming to the Hillsborough County Sportsplex. So we're really excited to have that event coming here. The youth and amateur market is on fire right now. Jason Augie and Tony Diaz from our team have done a fantastic job continuing to market all of our different facilities, really including the Sportsplex, to help drive tourism and really in times of need. So usually late July, early August is a little slower with the return to school. So to have an event like that coming at that time is fantastic. And it's one we're really excited about. We want to make sure on this podcast, we highlight events of all shapes and sizes. And so that CONCACAF announcement is a really important one to us.
And CONCACAF will announce the groups and the schedule in the upcoming weeks. So if you're wondering, who's going to be there, when can I tune in, all of that will be decided and will be released here coming up soon. I do want to ask one quick question, Rob, because we hear again a lot about hockey in our town and women's basketball and the growth here in our city. But soccer specifically has really started to take off. And I think our city specifically has become this epicenter of the growth of youth soccer. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think this event coming to town really showcases how much our city has embraced and wrapped its arms around the sport.
We got to give a lot of credit to Hillsborough County and the Board of County Commissioners for having the vision and believing in the vision of creating the Hillsborough County Tournament Sportsplex. 15 fields. It's managed by the Tampa Sports Authority, who manages Raymond James So the grass, the turf there is at a really elite level. We can get into it in future episodes because I think it's something the listeners would really love to hear about. But the projections that were laid out with the building of that facility have been far surpassed by the actual number of events that have come. I mean, just in the first 6 months of this fiscal year, nearly 48,000 hotel visitor room nights have been generated from events that are going to that facility. So whether it's the CONCACAF event that's coming, to some of the things that have happened related to flag football, to field hockey, to lacrosse, you name it, people want to come to that facility, experience our destination, and it's just been really cool to see the return on investment that's taken place with it.
It really is special, and truly first-class facilities all across the board, whether it's Amalie Arena or the Hillsborough County Sports Complex. I mean, it is truly speaks to the value of what the Tampa Sports Authority and our entire city is built up and made of. Speaking of the sport of soccer, Rob, I mean, I know there's the World Cup city announcements coming up a little bit later on this month in terms of the finalists, and that's going to be huge for a lot of cities. Specifically, I know we're going to talk a little bit about our city and why we are not in the running here in the upcoming episode.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to review that with the audience and just give you some of the insight as to why we decided that process didn't make sense to us. There are 17 cities still in consideration. 10 or 11 will end up getting picked. That announcement should come out in the next few weeks, and be great to review that and share with the listeners some of the thought process around it. Before we wrap the episode, though, I did want to just extend our sincere condolences to the Naif family. Rick Naif, who's a longstanding pillar of our community, spent several years with the Tampa Sports Authority running it, as well as with the Tampa Bay Rays for more than 20 years. I think he's one of only 2 stadium managers across the entire country who have managed a men's Final Four, a Super Bowl, as well as a World Series. He was a great treasure of Tampa Bay, just an incredible guy, involved for years with the Tampa Bay Bowl, involved for several years with our organization as well on our executive committee. He won our Tom McEwen Community Advocate Award about 3 years ago, and just an amazing pillar of our community. He passed away a few weeks ago, and it's somebody we will sorely miss. That's for sure, Ryan.
I had a chance, Rob, to actually ask Kevin Cash about Rick Naif, when I was filling in on Bally Sports Sun for one of their broadcasts, and he told me that he smiled, right, when I asked him about Rick Naif's memory, and he said he was just this larger than life personality, big guy, but even bigger presence, and always had a smile on his face. And when you read what Stu Sternberg, the owner of the Rays, said about Rick, it's the same thing, just always smiling, always jovial, always showcasing just why he lights up a room when he walks into it. And, I love what his wife Dana had said in terms of, if there's a sports field up there in heaven, Rick is, to the Tampa Bay Times, Rick is making sure he's going to have it pristine to throw a party for it. He cared so much about our sports facilities and the quality of them. And I think it just speaks to who he is and who he was. And certainly we are all remembering him and honoring him here, with the Tampa Sports Authority, with the Tampa Bay Rays, but also here with the Tampa Sports Commission.
Well, my favorite Rick Naif story, and there's so many of them, but my favorite one actually ties back to World Cup. When he was at that point in time in 1994, Tampa was being considered for a World Cup, but there were some questions about whether or not, the big sombrero, the field whether it was actually wide enough to host FIFA level soccer. And so again, he was leading Tampa Sports Authority at the time. FIFA decided to come in and take a site visit to actually measure the field. So Rick met him at the stadium, walked him out on the field. He got out his tape measure. He stretched it across the field and showed that it actually met the standard. And so the FIFA official that was there looked at it, still didn't think that the field from his perspective didn't seem like it passed the eye test in terms of being wide enough. So the FIFA official dug into his bag, got out his own measuring device and stretched it across the field, and it didn't meet the standard. So now you got Rick and the FIFA official looking at each other. They're both confused because one measuring tape actually says the field's wide enough. The other measuring tape says it's not wide enough. So the FIFA official asked to see Rick's measuring tape. And so the FIFA official then stretches it across the field, and this time inspects every inch of the measuring tape. And when he gets to right around the middle of the field, he sees that the tape had been cut and glued back together. And so Rick had been caught red-handed in terms of altering the measuring tape in order to meet the FIFA standard, which it just speaks to, first off, I mean, only Rick would think to do that. His ingenuity, his creativity is truly incredible. And it's just one of those things. There's countless stories like that. You could see his ambition for Tampa there and trying to make sure we were successful in that regard. But as we think about the man's legacy, and as we all try to do everything we can to live up to it, it's going to require that type of creativity and ingenuity to be able to come anywhere close, because he was just an incredible guy.
It just speaks to how much he loved our community and wants to have it shine on the biggest of stages. And that is an awesome and a fascinating story, Rob. Not only are we thinking about Rick and his family, but our good friend Leonard Levy, who we've spoken to. And you want to talk about stories, Rob? Leonard has stories for years. You could sit down and listen to Leonard talk for hours upon hours. And I know we're certainly thinking about him right now. Absolutely.
Leonard's been having some health challenges recently. He's such a dear friend to each of us, such an incredible, just founding father of our sports community here. And he's been with us every step of the way. So certainly our thoughts and prayers continue to be with him. We're checking in with him regularly, and certainly want to make sure he's gets back to full strength here and continue providing all these great stories and all this great insight and all this great counsel to us as we do everything we can to position our community as really the world's best place to host these events. He's the one that taught us that, and we know he's going to be able to continue to teach us that for many years to come. But we would just ask for everybody to think and pray for him here in this time at hand.
So certainly, he has been a longtime mentor for you, Rob, and I know that you've gotten a chance to learn a lot from him. Stories abound with Leonard Levy. There's going to be some stories, my friend, made this weekend here in the Music City. For the first time ever, your boy is going to get the opportunity to take in CMA Fest here in Nashville, Tennessee. 4 days, country music, so many stages, so much fun. I was trying to think, if I could relay it to anything Tampa-wise, what events in Tampa would measure up to CMA Fest? Because I need to make sure that I get prepared for what's to come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday here in Nashville, Rob.
Well, I know you're certainly biased towards Nashville, but I'm almost thinking maybe we use this as an opportunity to see what kind of event recruiting skills you have here. So maybe I'll FedEx you some of my business cards. I know that's dangerous, especially as you're walking around maybe with a drink or two in your hand. But maybe we could see what you could do in terms of getting an event like CMA Fest here. I mean, let's see. Is that something you could accomplish? I know you can speak to how great Nashville is, but can you speak to how great the Tampa Bay community is and see if CMA Fest would head our way?
Well, here's the thing. Given my experiences at the Tampa Pig Jig, which I love, it's one of my favorite events, Gasparilla Music Festival as well, I would say those two are right there on par with the time that people are going to have at CMA Fest. I've got no problem, Rob. If you want to ship me some of your business cards, I have no problem going around introducing myself as Rob Higgins and letting everybody know that they should bring CMA Fest to Tampa. What do you think?
Let's make it happen. It's worth a shot. Let's see what happens. I don't know if you're up. I don't think you were taking this business approach to CMA Fest. It seemed like you were taking a little bit of a party approach, but let's see if you can have this balance of both business and party.
Here's good news, buddy. I work on Saturday and Sunday for News Nation, so I've got no problem double dipping as a reporter, but also as the voice, the face, and an entrepreneur, luring people, luring CMA Fest, sharing with the entire world how amazing the city of Tampa Bay is. Because I'll tell you, CMA Fest is going to be cool right along the Cumberland River. But why not put it along the Hillsborough River and Tampa Bay and use our Riverwalk as the footprint for CMA Fest 2023. Let's get it started, Rob. Bring CMA Fest to Tampa Bay.
I cannot wait to hear how this goes on the next episode.